So, Wes, it's good to have you in here. I think
welcome to the As Told by You podcast.
I think this is really cool because normally, or I guess up to this point, I have invited all the guests or most of the guests, and so now I have invited a lot of the guests, the majority of the guests. So this is one where Brian and you and I just met kind of, I guess, or I've met before, but like this is the first time I've actually sat down and talked with you. So
right.
Brian, this is going to be kind of your hosting gig here. So
we just curiosity is really what we want to do, is just have a great conversation about, how people operate in their work life and how you can take that and find success with it.
Well, one of the things I'm fascinated with, and I guess maybe we can start here, is that I assume that you have. So let's first of all say who you are and who you're with and why you're here.
Yeah, I'm Wes Mitchell. I don't quite know why I'm here yet.
That's all right. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
GamcockCentral.com is my main gig. Also, work with 107.5 over there doing radio. And this is a little different for me because I'm normally like driving the bus a little bit and
the one asking the questions. That's
yes,
right.
And now y'all are coming at me.
Put
with
you on the
questions,
hot seat.
so,
We could turn that back around on you, just let you ask us questions.
Yeah, there
we
you go.
could. Yeah.
There you go.
That's not a very interesting podcast for people because they know us, So, I guess my first question for you is, and obviously, Brian, we can talk about specifics, but I love the idea that I assume you have always been a sports guy. I always love sports, and I assume it's not just a sport. Like you're not just a football guy. You probably love all sports. How does someone, who is in a place where they love sports make a living just being surrounded by sports all the time and being inundated? I'm assuming that's what you get to do with great Gamecock Central and with the game. Yeah,
it's a fascinating question because you better love it. I feel like it's easy to I want to work in sports, and you kind of I think when I first got into sports, I was kind of trying to tell my friends no, I actually do work. I'm not just going to the games and then going home and, having a few drinks at the game and, they're just paying you to watch sports. I think you do have to look at it like a job. And so I went to Carolina, so I was always very interested in just following South Carolina athletics. And turning it into a job, I kind of fell into it at first as like an internship and started realizing, okay, maybe I can work my way up in this, and just saw, obviously, Gamecock fans have a huge passion. And I think for a lot of them, it goes beyond just the surface level stuff. So one thing we try to do, and I think our fan base that are actual subscribers to us, which means they're paying, we have to think about, hey, they're paying money for our content. So what can we provide that's not on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever? And I think that means going deep below the surface and kind of going behind the scenes when we can and stuff like that. So it's been there was a point, and I think everybody in sports, if they work in sports, unless they just had it really, really good, they kind of have a moment where they're going, all right, can this really be a career? Because when you first start off, the money is not flying into your wallet.
It isn't?
Yeah, it's not. It's not. There are no big signing bonuses on that side of the sports, I guess, equation. So, I had that moment, kind of stuck with it, and it's just kind of worked out. But for anybody thinking about getting into sports, I think you have to look at it. How many different ways can I diversify, my revenue streams? I think one thing I've personally tried to do, but we try to do at Gamecock Central as well, is just having the website piece. That's kind of the hub. But we have our own podcast as well, video shows, the radio. Of course, if you're in sports now, I think being able to have digital advertising opportunities for companies in the area is big for us as well. So I think it's very different than it maybe used to be, where you might be I'm just going to be a newspaper writer. It's hard to make it with just a focus on one platform, I feel like, in today's sports world.
No, were you an athlete? Did you intend to play professional sports at any level?
I mean, yeah, when I was 10, I think I thought am I going to play in the MLB or the NBA? And then you get older and older, and you're I have this thing. I feel like every every athlete, whether you're talking about just a kid who loves playing, or you're Brian over here who played at Carolina.
Yeah.
But every athlete has a moment where they look around, they're like, I'm not the baddest dude in the room anymore. And for most normal people, that moment comes.
I was going to say, elementary school was awesome.
I'm telling you.
I rocked elementary school. I could play kickball like nobody's business.
Like most people, it comes pretty early. Other people, like you may remember.
I actually know the exact moment. I do. It was at Carolina. Mm-hmm. It was like one of the first weeks of practice. And I was on the scout team, cornerback, and I'm facing Andrew Pennick, Derek Watson, and Ryan Brewer on a toss sweep to my side coming at me. And I was like, oh, my God.
That was when they had the little 3 running back backfield under Holtz?
It was under Holtz. We knew that option, and it was a toss right. And I was playing up on corner, and I was coming up, and I was just like, I'm on the train tracks. It was crazy. Now, the other moment was when I realized exactly what I was doing. Because coming from Wisconsin, small town in Wisconsin, you have the Badgers, you have Michigan, you have Ohio State. My family's a Notre Dame. All my siblings went to Notre Dame, so we're a Notre Dame football family. That was college football to me. Coming down into the Southeastern Conference, and especially since when I joined the team, they hadn't won a game in 2 years. So it was like, what am I getting myself into? And we went to that bowl game the first year, and we were playing Ohio State, and we were watching film, and the guys in the room, our guys, are laughing at Ohio State because they made a goof play on film. And I'm thinking to myself, we're laughing at Ohio State last year I laughed at the other teams that we played against in high school. Same kind of mentality, and you're just like, okay, yeah, this is big time football.
Yeah. And so I had that moment pretty early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still dabble, love to be involved in it. I mean, Brian and I play softball together. Yeah. I do kickball. If you brought out a game in this room right now, let's play something. I'm like, let's go.
Very competitive.
Yeah. And I like it from you try not to cross the line, but just from a fun, staying active standpoint. So very average athlete. Did baseball actually all through high school. That was kind of that was a sport I could actually play fairly well. Did it through varsity level. Football, I played a little bit early on, middle school. It was more of just, I'm not a big guy. It's more of just I love football and love all the intricacies of, it's like chess, but with dudes that are 6'2", 200 pounds running into each other, which is just fascinating to me.
Now you got do you have a journalism degree? Is that what your degree was in, or?
Yeah, I did broadcast journalism.
Oh, okay, broadcast journalism.
So they actually, USC School of Journalism, I think they have a sports media track now.
Yeah.
But when I was in school, they didn't have that. I always thought I kind of wanted to do that. I mean, when I was growing up, play-by-play man was kind of, that would be cool to be the Braves play-by-play guy or something. But, as I went along, I didn't even do journalism at first when I got to Carolina. I changed my major. Broadcast just kind of seemed, I had taken a broadcast class in high school. They had a kind of a specialty class for that. I thought it was cool. I was honestly kind of just looking for a little bit of an easy track, honestly, because I was like, this looks like something I can do and have a decent GPA and get a degree.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I kind of fell into it. Small website at the time, doesn't exist anymore, GamcockAnthem.com. I just interned with them. This was when I was in school, and it kind of blossomed from there.
What's your writing process? How many articles do you write a week or a month, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it does vary, and a lot of times it depends on too. All right, is this an article that's just kind of something quick, something we would have for free and put on social media, and maybe it's an aggregation of something else that's out there, or is this something that is more sourced, where I've had to gather information and go deeper into it and all those things. For the most part, I aim for 2 to 3 articles a day, and again, some of those articles are going to be quick stuff that I can kind of knock out very easily. Other times that will be something that maybe I've worked on for, a couple of days maybe, and I've just been building out. And a lot of times for our more premium content, it's not maybe necessarily even in like a traditional article form. It's more like quick hitters, like, hey, here's information I've picked up on. Here's information on this player or this prospect I've picked up on. And so a lot of that, actually writing the article is the easiest, sometimes quickest part. Like maybe for an article that I can put together in 30, 45 minutes, I've been gathering kind of background information little by little, for a week, for weeks at times. So it really just depends. But yeah, I kind of like to stay more on the 2 articles a day, because the more you put out, I can kind of feel sometimes the quality will start to go down if you try to you can't create content like just to create content, I feel like. So that's kind of the, I guess, production that I aim for.
Do you guys analyze like clicks based on like, oh, my article got more clicks than your article? And is there any competition there, or?
There is, and we try. It's like one of those things, and my boss, Brian Shoemaker, he's awesome to work for. He gives us, he doesn't harp on that stuff, but he gives us the access to it in case that's something we're personally wanting to track. Or if he sees trends, he'll be like, hey, I've noticed this. Let's maybe try to do a little bit more of this type of content because it's really clicking. And so we have access. We can see basically your typical just views, like, hey, this was clicked this many times. One thing we always look at is user engagement, like how long, not just did they click it, are they staying on that article? Or are they
actually reading it? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for us. A lot of times, we kind of split up. Some of our stuff is free, some is behind a paywall. Our free stuff is almost always going to have more clicks because it's more like a social play. It's going to be on Facebook, it's going to be on Twitter, all those things, newsletter. And but then our premium stuff, that's where we maybe don't have as many clicks, but we want it to be those quality clicks where we can sit there and say this person engaged in this article or piece of content for a long period of time and actually digested it. And so we have a little leaderboard on this thing we can look at that shows, like I could pull it up right now and be like, in July, I wrote this many articles. I got this many views. That's an average view of this per article, this much user engagement, all those things. But ultimately, we're trying to get subscribers as well. So it's kind of interesting to try and figure out, all right, do views necessarily correlate directly with a new subscriber?
Subscribers, yeah.
And it doesn't always. And it's really, I feel like, still as much information as there is out there, sometimes it is a little bit more art than science in terms of determining, hey, that person may click every free article that exists on our site, but that person may never actually be like, I'm going to give you $10 a month.
Yeah.
Whereas this person maybe doesn't click through as much, but they want to go a little bit deeper into what we have going on.
So I think it's interesting listening to you talk, the correlation between Gamecock Central and everything that we deal with, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's
that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on.
It is kind of fascinating. When we're working with a new client right now, trying to get our strategy together for them, and they're not doing much. And so it's like, okay, how many posts are we supposed to put out? How many videos are we going to do for them? What is the content going to look like? How much is going to be graphic content? How much is going to be articles? Does a view mean something? Does an impression mean anything, right? And what are their KPIs? And so I think it's interesting, when we talk about that from a Gamecock Central standpoint, y'all are really looking for, I'm assuming y'all are looking for engagement, right? Mm-hmm. And engagement is probably your biggest metric as far as like, does this resonate? Because your fan base is there and tucked in and focused, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not having to grab somebody out of something else that they're interested in and drag them to football. They're probably still, on football no matter what. Is that a fair assessment that they're attuned to it no matter what the time of year is?
Yeah, and I think we're kind of always fighting the battle of, all right, we want quality views, like quality impressions. Mm-hmm. And so an impression of, hey, somebody just scrolled by and Twitter says, oh, they saw this content. Okay. That really doesn't do much for us. We want at least to get to the point of you clicked over and got into our ecosystem of stuff on the website.
Yeah.
And, one thing, and this is not, again, it's not really science. It's more almost like theory. If you get deep into like sports media and what works and what doesn't, we even talk about the fact that you kind of have like tiers of sports fans to where you might have this person A is a Gamecock fan, person B is a Gamecock fan. And but person A, they may go to the games, they may go to all the games, but they really don't even care to go under the surface of it. They're just going for the party. It's fun. It's exciting.
It's what they did in college. So
right. They want to be involved.
Yeah.
And those people, a lot of times, if you want to get really simple with it, they may click through to a lot of our free stuff, and they may kind of peruse it a little bit, and
so they know what they're talking about when they're at the game.
Right. Like they may read a couple paragraphs, but that person is going to be very difficult for us ever to get to actually subscribe. And so we're looking for
super fans.
Exactly. We're looking for the person that wants to know, like, what's going on with the backup left guard. Like, I read about that guy when they were a 4-star recruit. Wes, why is he not playing yet?
Yeah.
Or is he progressing or not? Like, one of our biggest things we were always asked about in the summer, because as you know, summer workouts, it's like the final sort of on-the-field strength and conditioning build up towards the season. Hey, who's looking good in summer workouts?
Yeah.
How are they doing? Which newcomers? This is a question we always get. Which newcomers, freshmen, transfers, JUCOs, all that, who's playing this year? Who's the guy that's new that I need to know their name? And so that's something we're trying to provide that before the coach says it or before they see it on the field, because our true fans are people that are subscribed to our site. They want to know so they can put it in their group text. Hey, I heard Lenore Sellers is going to be great this year. And where'd you sit? GamcockCentral. So that's sort of our ultimate goal, is to not only bring those fans into one place and let them interact on our message boards, but to make them feel like they're getting what they want, what they kind of want to consume out of what we're doing.
Do you have any strategies to like create super fans? So like you have that general fan who clicks on it every once in a while, but do you guys have a strategy to say, we want to get these people engaged so they will then become super fans and really see the value in the content you're providing?
And ultimately subscribe, right?
Right, and ultimately subscribe.
Yeah.
But if you're leading them to, it's a general marketing funnel, right? So if you're leading them to higher level content, digging them down deeper, basically broaden your funnel so you can say, I want as many people to come and see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because the more people that come, the more people will actually fall into that super fan place.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great thought. Like, and can you almost show somebody that maybe they didn't even know they needed this?
Right.
You want to show them that they do. And I don't know if we've ever thought about it that exact way. Now, the big funnel, I think everybody in content creation kind of takes that approach to an extent. And one of our things, we run specials all the time that are designed to, hey, frankly, give us $1. That gets your credit card into the ecosystem, frankly. And then you read a month for $1. See, click around, see what we got going on.
You got to grab them in that month.
You have to grab them then. And there's some I guess literature or some stuff out there you can read that says basically you have you might get one shot at turning that customer
in a short shot. You don't have like a long time because they'll decide right away.
But you guys are essentially, I mean, obviously you're a media company, so it's more than just online articles. You said you got podcasts and videos. Are you diving into the stories of the athletes in terms of like Gamecock Plus does a good job of like diving into the essence of who those athletes are and helping them connect with the fans. Have you guys thought about trying to do your own version of some of those stories?
Yeah, we have, and we've done a little bit of that. A lot of our stuff just from I mean, y'all know the amount of energy, time, effort that it puts and that you would have to put into putting together like a true high quality video that isn't just like even, not hating, but it's not just a story you see on the news. I'm talking like to really dive into somebody's life and personality and all that stuff. We're operating at such a fast pace day to day. It's hard for us to dial back and create stuff like that, honestly.
Yeah. You'd almost need to outsource it.
Yeah, there you go. There's the plug.
I mean, look.
But
someone who knows how to tell stories.
What are we doing? What are we
athletes.
doing here? If we're not talking about it. I think it's interesting from a standpoint of like I think what y'all are doing. If I understand it right, of course I'm not a subscriber. I'm not a passive fan. Is that bad? I don't know. I live here. I went to the university. I just don't.
You don't care?
I just don't follow it. I don't know. I'm sorry.
You don't care?
Well, the thing is, like,
the economy gets better the better the game.
I was going to say, and when you're in the bars, after a game, it's a much happier bar when the Gamecocks win. So,
yes.
I'm with you there. I guess also the reason I was going to ask you if you were a player is because I feel like I don't follow sports because I never played sports, right? And so, it's certainly I think it's an element of it, right? That you have to have played it or had aspirations to play it, or there had to have been something like that. I played tennis in high school, but like other than that, I didn't really play any sports.
It's funny because I feel like you don't. So for myself, I wouldn't call myself a super fan by any means,
right?
And I don't know. Sometime in my early 20s, I figured out I can't control. I was done playing. I can't control the outcome anymore. There is no point to put that much effort and angst and emotion into something you can't control.
See, that's not the mindset we need, right?
I know, but that's where it's like
that's the healthy mindset.
But I will tell you,
I'm not getting upset. I'm not hate watching Clemson. I'm not getting upset with if we lose. I want us to win, and I will shed a tear if we ever win that national championship.
Right,
but it is not what I live and breathe by.
Well,
but at the same time, because I'm a former athlete, people expect me to know.
Yeah.
So then I have to kind of know a little bit, enough to talk about stuff.
I'm constantly asking you questions about sports, and it's just. And my neighbor went to the University of Tennessee. Okay, so everything in his life is that light colored orange, right? There's T's on everything. Yeah. He's always got some version of a Tennessee shirt on or hat on, and every sport, right now he's in a world of problems because there's no baseball, there's no basketball, there's no football. He's having to watch swimming or something. I don't know what he's watching.
The Olympics are on. Have you been watching the Olympics?
I'm not. No,
okay.
I have Peacock
we have
now.
Gamecocks in the Olympics.
I have Peacock now, so I could. I don't know. I will watch Olympic sports occasionally. There are some that I really
every
enjoy.
4 years.
I enjoy watching. Well, like when they're on for several weeks, you can't. You gotta pace yourself because it's like the Tour de France. I used to watch the Tour de France, and it takes so long, to get through it. I think it's fascinating when you're talking about your captive audience because you have a captive audience, right? It's all of these people who are literally obsessed. The previous company that I used to work for, the two bosses were scholarship donors, right? So they had the scholarship donor stickers on the back window of their car. Both of them had the back window just completely filled with scholarship, and they did that to get a parking space and to get all of the whatever access they get to the preseason and stuff. And they were in my office. Once football season started, you can't talk about anything else. There's nothing else going on in our office other than football talk. And so it's fine. I mean, God bless them. They left me alone because they just talked about football and I didn't have anything to talk about. But I know those people are out there. And what is the size of that audience? How big is that captive audience for y'all? Do you have any idea of the scope of it?
I don't know if I do because there's levels to all this. I feel like, and the more sort of the just diehards like. The 1% of the 1%. That might be a a fairly small group, but then you start to like the number of people I've run into in other states. I mean, we were in Aruba on our honeymoon, and there's a Gamecock shirt, you know. So, or people that I randomly run into, hey, are you the guy from GamcockCentral? So I feel like the passion runs deep, and I don't think you don't have to have played the sport to have that.
Right.
In a lot of ways, the former players I know are more kind of like Brian's mindset, and they just look at it differently because it's a different memory for them. Like I'm sure he looks back, he probably thinks of the friendships he made in the locker rooms. And
well, think about it this way. I didn't experience, I mean, I did because I was a redshirt freshman, but I may have tailgated, but at that point you didn't really tailgate. You just kind of went to the games, right? Coming as a freshman. I didn't tailgate through college.
Right.
Right. So that entire experience is different.
And you've really only tailgated as a sort of an adult.
Yeah.
Going back to it.
Yeah.
And well, have you ever been to the Mason Jar in New York City?
I have not been. I've heard it's a great time.
So we went to the Mason Jar a couple of years ago. We were up in Manhattan for a shoot, and we're right around the corner. The place we were shooting was like 2 blocks from the Mason Jar, and we were looking for places for lunch. And Zach was like, "Did you know there's a Gamecock themed bar in Manhattan?" I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, right around the corner. So we went down there. You step in, I swear to God, you're stepping into yesterday's or I mean, like, it's like you're walking into 5 Points. You're walking into a bar in five. It's like there's Gamecock helmets on the bar, and there's like pictures of Williams-Brice Stadium everywhere. And apparently the owner is from Columbia, and all the Gamecock fans in Manhattan gather at the Mason Jar for games and for other things. But they did not have mustard barbecue, which I thought was bizarre. I was like, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
And they didn't have sweet tea. I was like, okay, you're out.
You're faking it.
You're faking it.
See,
Like,
I'm okay without the mustard barbecue,
Yeah, me
but the sweet tea, now we've crossed the line.
I know.
feel
What are
like.
you doing?
We've crossed the line. But I feel like, so one thing I've adjusted my mindset on kind of over the years, like I thought, and I like the X's and O's of football. Like, and so one thing I've learned, even a lot of your hardcore fans, they may not, unless they're just maybe have a true football background, they maybe really don't care to see the diagram of a play and why it worked, why it didn't. I thought that was, well, how could you be more in-depth or inside the game than that? Let's have a former quarterback come on and diagram a play and why it worked and what the coverage was and all those things. A lot of times we don't get as much traction off of that. But if you talk to a former player, like, did you play with Preston Thorne?
Yeah.
Okay, so Preston, he was a defensive lineman. And so when Preston is watching a football game, he's like, I'm staring at the D-line the entire time. And I'm like,
because it's my part, right?
That was his part to play.
Yeah.
He watches the game from the D-line out. Average fan watches the football.
The ball.
Yeah, the ball. Players are not ball watchers a lot of times.
Yeah.
They're more
They watch their piece.
They watch their place. And so I think that your super fans, it's not necessarily their memories from playing the game. It's more their experiences growing up a lot of times. Like, I think there's nostalgia, whether you're talking about a 5-year-old going to the games with their family and looking up and seeing, to them, like the biggest structure they've ever walked into in their life, and seeing the crowd and everything that goes along with like the adrenaline rush with that. Or it's like you're talking about, maybe they're not from South Carolina, but they go off to college. They're kind of forming who they are or who they're going to be as an adult, and they kind of just fall in love with that aspect of it. So for them, maybe they're going back to their regular life and their work life for 5 days a week, and then that Saturday is something they're looking forward to all off season or all week long, because it's kind of, an escape.
That's that connection to where they were formed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can almost sound a little bit corny, but it's like a real thing, because one thing we kind of find, people actually are more interested, in my opinion, sometimes in discussing what could happen in the game, what's about to happen, or what just happened, than they are in the actual game itself. Like, it's more, our traffic in some ways goes down on a game day. One, people are actually at the games and watching, or they're tuned into their TV. But our traffic spikes when there's something to talk about leading into a game or after a game, which could be a big win or obviously a big loss as well. It's more of a discussion piece than it is the actual, a lot of times, on the field game of football.
Yeah, you're really basically an arbitrator of the community, the Gamecock community.
Yeah, hope so.
Well, and I think it's interesting, your degrees in broadcast media. Broadcasting is a tough business nowadays, as anyone who's trying to run a radio station or TV station or newspaper will tell you. Newspaper is not broadcast, but I assume that y'all aren't having that issue. I assume that because you're in the sports arena, that kind of mitigates a lot of the broadcast issues that most people are having.
Yeah, and I think we've all, when COVID hit, we're all sitting there like, are any of us going to have jobs?
Because, what do we do now? Right.
Yeah, what do we do now? So I think sports media is not immune to those issues, but that is also why we try to do everything we can to sort of broaden into podcast space. We do videos with all of our podcasts. As much as we'd rather people just come to the site and read it on there, I think at first we kind of pushed back on social media. Like, no, we want people to come interact on our site, not on that. Yeah. But that's where the discussion is. So we've tried to broaden as much as we can. That's where I think branding for us is huge. And my boss, Brian Shoemaker, he started GamcockCentral in 1998, which was before. There's Lord knows how many sports media websites out there.
Might as
now.
well be 100 years ago, as far as
So
it was only 2 years before I started playing at the game.
Well.
But I think
we won't say what that means for you.
I think 98, 99 though is so far ago, as far as like, if we think about when I was in high school and college, it was like, the advent of cars and stuff. That's what 98 feels like a time where there were not smartphones, there were not, and I was talking to somebody the other day about like when I first started making videos back in 2005, the only way to play a video was either on a DVD in your television or on TV, right? That was it. It was like the TV was the way to go. And so obviously we never thought we would be making vertical videos. We never thought we would be making videos for mobile devices. Like none of that stuff is a thing. And I'm assuming in the broadcast space, you've got to adapt. Even with sports broadcasting, you've got to adapt as things change, right? And tell me about social media. So I think it's interesting. A lot of the work we do is making content for social media for companies and organizations. Tell me about like your approach to social media. What do y'all do?
Yeah, and it's something where we have adjusted it as time has gone on. Even when we were sort of like, all right, social media, we may not enjoy this, but we've got to be on these platforms, or you just fall behind. For us, when it first started, it was more like, all right, we're just gonna use this to link our content. Like we don't. If we're posting something, we're wasting our time if it's not linking back to our stuff. And then the more, I guess, the algorithms shift and change and all that stuff, we realize like, well, that stuff doesn't get shown to people near as much. So we've kind of shifted a little bit to, all right, let's just try to build those platforms up as much as we can. Not give away everything we're doing on the website, but we've sort of leaned a lot more into having graphics and stuff. There's breaking news, and some of that may be just not linking back to our website, which is kind of a weird thought for us. But if it's something that we feel like maybe is just more casual fan oriented, something that's kind of going viral, we want to use social media to be in that conversation where if people are talking about it, they're going to see at Gamecock Central and they're going to see our logo out there and, kind of go from there. And then we want to then use that branding and those platforms and those followings that we've built to then also kind of push people back to our website. We do, I would say, very little, maybe even not enough of actual direct, hey, subscribe to us, subscribe today, today. You'll find that stuff if you come to our website. But our social stuff, we want it to be a little bit more seamless, a little bit less kind of billboardy, and just kind of like, hey, this is what we have going on. Check out this story.
Yeah.
We post our free stuff actually a good bit more. That's all we post on Facebook. We don't post any of our premium content on Facebook. It's all free stuff. That seems to work with their algorithm a lot better. But the thought process there is, hey, if you get over here onto our website, you can read it without putting in an email. You can read it without putting in a credit card, any of that stuff. But, hey, maybe you happen to see something else while you're there, or we'll link out within stories a lot. Here's a related story that is premium, that is a subscriber-only feature. And so we do try to still ultimately be like, social media has to drive people back to our brand, but we've become much more open to having a conversation on those platforms and then using it to hopefully bring people, because I feel like you have to use social media to build credibility. If they're having long conversations and back and forth on Twitter about something that's important to Gamecock Nation, and then they don't see us pop up in any way on there, then that's probably a missed opportunity for us.
Well, and I will say, this is the one thing we try to get across to people more than just about anything, right? Is social media is not a place for a billboard, right? Mm-hmm. People don't go there to be sold to. They don't want to be sold to. Mm-hmm. They want value. They want information. They want you as an expert in Gamecock sports to give them valuable information in sports, not to sell them a membership. And I think if you can give them stuff, they'll want to get the membership. It'll be a relationship that you build with them.
Do you guys use Facebook groups at all? Have you gotten into that, where almost like creating your own groups to generate conversation and then...
Or have groups for subscribers.
Yeah.
Not a ton, just because that I feel like would almost be in direct competition of our message boards, because our message boards on our website, like our forums, are really, that's where that community is built. And
that's awesome.
That to me that might be the missing link for other I would say websites and content producers, that the sports side I think does really well. Is like, you look, we're on the On3 network, On3 platform, which means if you go on there, if you're a Florida fan, or if you're a South Carolina fan and South Carolina's playing Florida, you can click over and it's all networked together. You can go to the Florida version of what the South Carolina site is, and you can go through. They have a message board. They have a forum on there where they're all talking about the game. And so does social media has put a dent into that aspect of it for us, but still, you can go on there. On ours, you're not seeing everything else that's going to hit you in the face. If you're, no matter how hard you try to, I'm not going to follow this stuff, I'm not going to follow that stuff, you're going to see all this other stuff on Twitter, on Facebook. Mm-hmm. The forums are supposed to be a place where you can go on there and you can just talk football, you can talk baseball. Yeah. It's filtered out.
And I think, your platform is, having your own platform is just the best. That's the best option all around. That's what the Facebook group really provides you to have, is your own platform. If you've already got that, then that's perfect. I think another thing that we were talking about with Facebook groups is that certainly there are groups that were formed outside of Gamecock Central around Gamecock sports, and it makes so much sense for y'all to participate in that conversation in those groups, because that's where groups, for me, even as I'm 50 years old, I'm straight down the demographic of who should be using Facebook, right? As far as what they'll tell you. 90% of my Facebook use is groups. I mean, I'm on groups for car stuff. I'm on groups for music. I'm on groups for camera stuff. It's like the groups are where I spend 90% of my time on Facebook. So if you're serving me an ad, or you're serving me article content or whatever it is, I'm almost always more likely to see it on a group than I am on my feed, because that's where I spend most of my time. And I think all of this is just, the good part is, obviously the mindset is the thing that most people have to change, right? Mm-hmm. The mindset is like, we have to do this. right? So once the mindset is we have to do this, then the tactics just work themselves out. It's just trying it enough that you see what succeeds and what doesn't succeed. But if you got your own platform, that's the ideal scenario, certainly. So
one of the things I wanted to ask you about, when you had mentioned, the value comes for the subscriber in the weeds type information.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
by necessity, they call it inside baseball, right? That's what you call it.
That's right.
This is one of the sports references I picked up.
Hey,
inside baseball.
I think that one was correct.
That's right. See, I'm getting there.
But I'm trying to relate that. So in order to get that information, you have to have a very solid network, especially on the recruiting side of all the analysts stuff that you do for the recruiting side. Your network has got to be huge and strong. And there's the techniques, the usage, the things that you do in order to build those relationships and create that network are very similar to just general business networking. Yeah. So can you talk about that and how you've developed that over the years?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest part about it, I think, because it is, it's relationship building, and it has to be, genuine, I think. Now, there's a certain advantage you have in that, like I said, GamcockCentral has been around for a long time. My boss, he was ahead of the curve, and I think when you have a audience that is captive and they want to hear what we have to say, and we're writing about a program, in this case, football program, baseball program, basketball, there's value to people at those programs to honestly communicate with us, because they want for our stuff to be accurate. They, frankly, at times they probably want it to be positive, and they don't want there to be animosity and all those things. So I think that's been an advantage to us, or to myself, going to work for Gamecock Central, is I wasn't just a random person saying, hey, give me all your information. So I think that helps us at that kind of the start of that relationship building. You have a reason to talk to me, because you know that South Carolina fans are going to read what we put on the website. So, I think from that step forward, though, once you have somebody who's willing to talk to you, it's very much just a relationship. It's trust building. It's like anybody. Like, I think this goes back to even newspapers and TV, and like the very basis of journalism is kind of like building sources and relationships. Trust. Hey, you can tell me something, and I'm not going to put it on the website. Like, I think a lot of it, people sometimes ask us, like, hey, well, how much of what you guys hear ends up on the internet? And I'm like, 30%, 25%. Like, most of what we hear will never be on the internet. Like, that's just how it has to be. You have to be able to show restraint. And I think that's how you build those relationships. But I think ultimately trust, like you said, that goes into business. Like, no matter what you do, I think there's an element of building relationships and trust. And I think it's just about talking to people and trying to be genuine and being willing to. One thing I feel like when I got to college, I was not the person that was going to just talk to a stranger for no reason, like find a reason to talk. So I think part of it, depending on where your personal strengths and weaknesses are, some of it is, all right, I got to get out of my comfort zone, put myself in a place where I can become more comfortable doing it. So for me, over time, I was like, dude, just talk. Like, just talk to everybody. Find a reason to talk. And I've met so many people that have, helped me, and hopefully I've helped them in like the business world just by striking up a conversation, and then it kind of just grows from there. You find a mutual interest. It's easy with this because a lot of times it's Carolina football anyway. So, but yeah, all about trust, I think, and just that, okay, this person's not going to burn me and throw this on the internet. Yeah. Everything I tell them, basically.
Yeah.
Used to be that you had to have independent sources before you put any news out. Used to.
That
you have to have 2 independent sources before you could release a news story. That was like what they call journalistic integrity, which is not a word they teach people, I'm sure, anymore. Say it, whatever. Say it, somebody will dispute you or whatever. But that's really cool to hear, because that's the foundation of any business networking or anything that goes on, right? Is it's about relationships. It's about people understanding that our relationship is not transactional, as much as it is we're both interested in something that we can collaborate on or something that we can connect with. And I think that's really important. I think, my relation to something like Gamecock Central in my head is like my connection was to music. So I went to college as a music major. I felt like I was going to do music for a living. Again, had that moment just like you had, where I stepped in the room and I was like, I don't belong here.
I didn't say I didn't belong.
No.
I just wasn't the big dog anymore.
I had that moment, right? I had that moment though, where I wasn't the big dog, and I said, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? And I want to go do this for fun, and I don't want to do it as a job. Do you ever get that moment where, you say sports has become too much of a job, where you don't enjoy it anymore, or is it still just
it's
enjoy
still fun, Wes? Are you having fun?
We'll just make sure Brian's not listening.
Yeah. No, it is always, it is fun, but I do think there are definitely reminders of like, all right, this is a job. And some of it, frankly, does go back. You were talking about, hey, when you go to the bar after the game, it's a lot better vibe when Carolina has won. I mean, we're not immune to, like, if you're just around negativity all the time, like, it can affect your mental mindset as well. And same, the other side, if everybody's happy and in a good mood, these are people we're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. You have to try everything you can to not let that affect you personally. You even have to realize, hey, sometimes I'm just a sounding board for somebody to vent their frustrations about what's going on. Because what he was talking about earlier, there are some people that, like, this does affect their mindset, whether South Carolina wins or loses a game. So they want a place to vent. And sometimes I end up on the other end of that venting, and I just have to remember they're not mad at me. They're just mad, because the quarterback threw a pick six. So, I think I have over time, though, been, and this, I mean, my wife will tell you, like, I have to put the phone down sometimes. And that's just also, that goes back to anybody trying to kind of find that work-life balance. But I've tried to, take a few more vacations. Like, I feel like if you enjoy what you do and, like, really love what you do, that can be a blessing and a curse. Like, that means you want to, like, pour everything you have into it. But then even then, you've got to tell yourself, all right, give yourself some grace, give yourself some balance. And like, we went to the beach for a week last week, because we're about to be in our, like August 1 is where it starts for us. Like, it never really ends, but July is probably our lightest month, honestly. So we went to the beach. There were times I just cut my phone off, which is something I never, ever, ever do, just because that goes back to the relationship and source building and all those things. You're constantly texting with people, checking in on people. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how are things over there? Anything I need to know? Stuff like that. And it's easy to be just watching TV and mindlessly find yourself, checking in on some things. And then you look over and you're getting that look like, why are you still on your phone?
This is our time.
Yes. So, you have to be very, I feel like, intentional at times to be like, all right, step away from this a little bit, reset, find some balance and stuff like that, because you can, no matter how much you love what you're doing, you can get burned out, I think. And I've reached that, like, threshold at times before, and I've had to just kind of dial myself back, basically.
That is a perfect place to wrap up, I think.
That's right.
That was great. Thank you.
We finish off every podcast with 5 favorites. So 5 questions. Your favorites, I'm not shoot them out when you go.
Just whatever comes to mind.
What is your favorite sitcom?
A favorite sitcom? How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
I'm watching that right now for the 3rd time.
Wow.
I already know how he met their mother.
I didn't like the ending, actually.
Well, whatever. Nobody likes the ending.
That was what came to mind.
Favorite dessert?
Oh, give me. This could change. Like, I'm a huge dessert guy, so depends on the day. Right now, give me peanut butter pie with like some chocolate syrup on top.
Ooh, all right. I'll have that. Yeah.
Favorite fictional character?
Oh man, this is bland. Whatever. Give me Superman.
That's the second Superman we've had on that couch in the last week.
Okay.
Andrew said Superman.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I missed that. How did I miss that?
I don't know.
Favorite song?
Oh god. You know what I've been listening to this week? I've been listening to the new Eminem.
Oh.
So that's like, but I made the mistake. So I asked somebody in a group setting. I was like, "Have y'all heard the new Eminem CD?" and they just started laughing at me, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
They're like CD. So
my daughter's 14. You know what she asked for Christmas? CD player. Do you know why? Because it's retro.
Oh no.
She wants a physical piece of media. So she bought a CD of her favorite band. It was like $23. They signed it, everything. She has no way of playing it because we don't have anything in our house that'll play a CD. So
she's like, have a DVD player anymore?
I've got one in the closet somewhere, but then I'd have to hook it up to the TV when I don't know where the remote is, and it's all that stuff.
I got a CD player at the flea market if you want to.
Yeah, well, that might be something. All right, go ahead.
And finally, puppies or babies?
Oh, well, I don't have kids, so I do have a dog, so we'll go puppies for right now.
Nice,
awesome. Well, Wes, thank you so much. This was
great.
Good to talk to you, man. And that's all till next time.